Welcome, everyone. This is Sam Collins, your billing expert from the American Acupuncture Council. And we're here bringing you another episode with Dr. Lorne Brown, our acupuncturist, on making sure you understand why do practices fail, what are the most common things, but also how to really kind of promote and get your practice together. And of course, who better, because he's not only an acupuncturist, but a CPA. And of course, when you're dealing with it from that standpoint, you're looking at it as a business standpoint. So we welcome you again. This is part two. And so Dr. Lorne, thanks for being with us. And I'm happy to have you again today.
Sam, thank you very much for having me back on the show. I'm looking forward to our discussion again today.
Okay, great. So last time, I'm sure you all can recall and have seen what we talked about, but here's what I want to hit on today with you a little bit, because I've done some reading of the book and I want to make sure that I'm understanding it correctly, because I think sometimes people will misinterpret this, but it says, I've heard you say to attract patients, you need to be attractive to patients. Now, I need you to give me a little elaboration. I'm pretty sure you're saying I don't need to be Brad Pitt or something, do I, in order to get a patient?
First of all, you're much better looking than Brad Pitt, all right? So you're already good in that place. But no, when I say to attract patients, you need to be attractive to patients. What I'm talking about is you need to be seen as the solution. You need to be of value. That's how you're going to attract the patient. So to attract patients, you need to be attractive to patients. And what's attractive to patients? People that can solve their problems. And we talked a little bit about that in our last series, the last lecture we did. In this one, what I want to talk about is how to become attractive. What is it that's going to attract the patients? How to become that solution? How to become attractive? And really, the tagline of my company, Healthy Seminars, is invest in yourself, and then others will invest in you. And so to become attractive, you need to and want to grow your confidence and your competency. All the successful people, they're constantly learning. They go to courses, they read, they're constantly improving themselves. Basically, you are your greatest asset. That's who we are. Each practitioner is our greatest asset. So we constantly need to invest in ourselves. And I'm going to read a quote here, if I can find it right off the bat, from Robin Sharma, who's a motivational speaker, very successful. He's written several books, Who Will Cry When You Die, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and many other titles. And he says, people who have achieved great success are not necessarily more skillful or intelligent than others. So that's me. I'm no more skillful or intelligent than the average practitioner. What separates them is their burning desire and their thirst for knowledge. The more one knows, the more one achieves. So when you constantly invest in yourself, your confidence grows and your competency grows. When I used to be practicing as a CPA, what I used to notice is the partners, the managers, they constantly would add letters to their names, not so they could add letters to their names, but they constantly wanted to evolve their game to become more valuable to their patients, to their clients, because they're doing accounting. And that's also makes it more attractive to their clients because they have more skill set, more knowledge. And what I used to notice, you see this in the lawyer game and in the accounting game, the more credentials they have behind their names, they tend to charge more. So based on experience and based on knowledge, they would also raise their fees. And so you're your greatest asset. To really attract patients, the number one thing you'll want to be doing is constantly investing in yourself. Because when you invest in yourself, your patients are going to be more willing to invest in you for their healthcare solution.
So, in other words, I think it's an interesting point, Dr. Lorne, that you bring up, that you're investing in yourself, but I think really what you're saying is invest in yourself in knowledge, not buying an expensive suit or something, but you're giving a patient a solution. You have to know more answers, if you will, because there may be an answer you're achieving, but the solution to that answer may vary. And so I think it's important, practitioners, that you are and should be out continuing to learn, because that's what attracts patients. Now, I practiced for 20 years with my father. And the one thing that I learned, that when you came in, the one thing my dad taught me was patients, particularly in our type of healthcare field, are buying you. They see you, and that's what they're looking for. And that you doesn't mean, you're hot. It means, hey, do you give me the confidence and the things that I can achieve that? So you're saying, go out, learn more, but then how would I exude that to my patients? How do I make sure they know it? Is there a way do you promote things in the office, or is it just a matter of me using those additional information in discussion with them, like in a report of findings?
So that's a very great question. And this is the key. You're not buying a fancy suit. When you're investing in yourself, you're increasing your value. And so, because that's what patients are buying. You say patients are buying you. It's the value. It's the perceived value. So you're not just taking courses aimlessly. You're taking courses that are going to raise your value, that are going to be seen as value for your patients. I'll give you an example, a personal example here. So I'm a CPA. That doesn't have any real value for my patients, as you know, they're coming to me for their health, not their taxes. But I have a CPA, but that does not add value to my patients on that level. I've done the doctor of Chinese medicine. Then I went and did a certification in hypnotherapy. I became a fellow of the American Board of Oriental Reproductive Medicine, so another credential. I went and did the Kalish Functional Medicine program. I've done Psych K. I got trained in laser. So when patients see me, I bring in hypnosis, Psych K, acupuncture, functional medicine into that treatment room. And that's where they see the value. And that's why I can charge a different rate than my peers around me. So there are patients that get on airplanes and come to my practice here in Vancouver, even though there are people charging the same or less on their block. There are people in my province that drive an hour to my clinic, even though there are people 2 minutes away from their practice. So that attracting the patients, there's a few. So you ask the question, how do you do this? Like, how do you attract? How do you take this investment in yourself, this value, and attract the patient? So one is, A, you got to invest in yourself. You got to really feel it and believe it that you have this new value. You have to be able to communicate it to your patients as well. So you have to be able to communicate with that, what the value is, where the benefit is, why would they want to see you? And some of the things that you can do that are just really basic is, like, for example, to attract patients, a niche. So I specialize in treating reproductive health fairly early in my practice. I started in 2000. By 2000, I had a focus in fertility. By 2004, that's all I was treating at that time. I kind of let go of my sport medicine practice back then. I brought it back since, but in 2004, it was just reproductive health. And people want a specialist. Now, I still treat holistically because I know when Chinese medicine practitioners, my colleagues hear me say that, they say, that's not Chinese medicine. I go, certainly is. I still treat the individual on my table. I still do a complete intake. I still come down to a pattern diagnosis and treat that way. However, what I communicate and how I educate, which is another word for market, how I educate my website and my communication, I'm talking about the reproductive health. I'm talking about the baby because they're not coming to me. We talked about the Sam in our last lecture. They're not coming to me for acupuncture. They're coming to me for a solution. So if my website lists 1,000 different conditions I treat, I'm speaking to nobody. But if my website lists 3 things I treat, I'm definitely speaking to somebody specifically. And if it lists one thing, you're really talking to that group. And that's why people will get in their cars and drive an hour or get on airplanes because they see that you offer more value than somebody on their street just by creating a niche. Now, I'm talking integrity. I say this in my book on Missing the Point, and we talked in our last lecture. You can be successful. You can make financial abundance with integrity. I'm not talking about deceiving your patients. So you really are a specialist in that. That's where you do your professional development, your continued education. That's where your experience lies. That's where your passion lies. So you live and breathe it. So you can really talk the talk and communicate to your patients and really understand not only your medicine's approach, but by me focusing on reproductive health, for example, on treating infertility and pregnancy, I also know how naturopaths treat it, even though I'm not a naturopath. I know how the medical system does it, the IVF process. I know about mind, abdominal massage. I'm aware of everything, so I can cross-refer. And when they come to me seeing another practitioner, I'm very knowledgeable in what they're doing. I'm more knowledgeable than my patient, which gives them confidence too. There's nothing worse for a patient than if they came to my practice and said, I'm doing a Clomid cycle and I have my IUI in 4 days and I don't know what that is. Now, for me to treat them well, I really may not need to know that exactly. I think actually it helps, but it's not going to really affect your Chinese medicine treatment too much. But from a patient's confidence perspective, if they come in and I don't know that Clomid is an ovulation drug and how it works, and I don't know what IUI, intrauterine insemination, stands for, they're just going to lose the confidence. So it's for them to trust me, to follow my advice, they have to feel that I got their back and I know what I'm doing. So you need to be confident, and then you need to be able to communicate that and live and breathe it, because your patients can smell confidence and they can smell doubt. That's why I say you constantly invest in yourself. I read or listen to a book every single day. I don't even know how much I spend on continuing education from a book perspective. I run healthy seminars, so I have access to all these products for continuing education. but I probably read a book every 2 weeks. I'm done a book put that on an annual basis. So I'm reading over 26 books a year, right? So I'm always investing in myself. I'm protecting my confidence and increasing my value. So one is you have to communicate that you're a solution to the patient. So specialization, creating a niche, and you communicate that on your website. You can still treat other things, but your communication has to be very specific. And when you really know the stuff you've invested in, you really know it, you can't fool the patients. They're too educated now. The web makes them too educated. So I'm saying you really have to invest in yourself. You really have to know it. So when a patient comes to me with functional medicine tests or questions, I can have a good conversation with them. Hypnosis, I do it in my practice. I have a good conversation around the mind-body stuff. You really have to know it. You can't fake it. You'll get caught in the end if you try to fake it. And so patients seek out my clinic because we live it, we breathe it, and we're constantly investing in ourselves. So I will share with you, for example, blogging. When you blog, it has two levels. One, think of out there, the yang, and one, the yin internally. So my doctors at my clinic, they do a blog once a week. On the outside, on the very business side, just blogging, getting a story out there is great for Google SEO and for people finding you and reading you. But also, when my docs blog on something, they have to do some research and really think about it so they can communicate what is going on, the benefit of the treatment. And so internally, there's a transformation happening to them. So when they blog, there's a shift inside them where they feel more confident, where they get excited, because to write the blog, they have to really understand it well in order to communicate it, explain it in a blog post. So I explained to my team, there's two reasons we do this. One is on the outside, it gets content out there. Patients read it. Maybe they'll find you interesting, wanting to see you. It's good for SEO. But more importantly, internally, on the yin aspect, there's a transformation that happens to you. And that's a form of investing in yourself.
Well, that's fantastic. In fact, I want to make sure everyone knows, because sometimes using the abbreviations when you said IUI and so forth, it's important to know when he's saying SEO, he means, your optimization, your, search engine optimization, SEO, meaning the more it's out there. Now, what I take away, though, it shows that you're not really trying to advertise it in a sense, but you advertise it because it comes through you. The patients hear the confidence. And ultimately, how do you get new patients? Is that patient sends you someone because they have confidence. I send to an acupuncturist myself, who's one of the more expensive in the area. But I will tell you what I do. I tell everyone, I love my doc. She's fantastic. Dr. Ramadi, she's wonderful. I said, however, when you go to her, she's not the cheapest. And what's interesting, she's never had an issue because everyone knows when I refer them, I tell them, look, she's not cheap, but they know they're getting a good quality service. Now, I think this is important because you said something about specialization. And I think it's important to always know your strong points. And for the most part, one of my mentors always said this, always understand that you should never bet the deal or buy the deal, but you buy the person behind it. And I think for a doctor especially, that's really what people are buying, is that confidence. But I will ask this, on a practical standpoint, you talked about all these specializations. Do you do anything? Because I went to a dentist once, and this is what he did. He had a nice list outside of it, in the waiting room, that just went through the courses he's taken in the last year. And it kind of, for me, I was like, oh, wow, he did a thing on TMJ, or he did something on snoring. And that, to me, I really took away, and I thought, we should do more of that so our patients understand, look at the additional work that they do, not in a way of braggadocio, but to really show the level of things that you're doing. I'm not sure I'm going to write, I read this many books, but like you said, the CEUs are important courses. So is that something you recommend?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. So much so that Healthy Seminars, our website, practitioners have a choice to be listed and have their courses listed under their name on our website. So for patients to see who's doing all that great professional development, investing themselves. And to add to that is, when you take something, if you do this extra course, you really learn how to treat something, you don't let anybody know, you're disservicing your patients, because now nobody knows that you can do it. So you can let them know through a blog, you can do a video. It's okay to take the course and share it. And, in med school, they say, see one, do one, teach one. So it's great. You take a course, you do a little practicing with your patients, you see some good results, and then you should blog or do a video on it. So now they know, and it's out there, and you'll attract more patients. So yes, I think the list is fine to do. And I think it's okay. You're not bragging. And even if you are, it's okay, It's something to be proud of. Hey, I just learned to do this and it worked really well. We've done that with the cold lasers in our practice. I done courses. I traveled to learn about how to use the laser really effectively for pain and now for reproductive health, for fertility, egg quality. And, we communicate that on our website. And we have patients that travel far and wide to come and have treatments with us. And again, it's that I'm actually going to use this to digress really into the topic of attracting patients. The value is key. And we talked about this, Sam, you and I agree on this. And we talked about this the last time we were on together. You got to have value for your patients. And it's one thing to have the value, but what's really more important is they have to perceive the value. And how are they going to perceive the value is you're going to want to know how to communicate your value to them. And we said, and we won't go into this talk, but we talked about how many years you went to school and how much school debt is not valuable to your patients. Fixing the problem is valuable. So one is, are you the solution? Two is, do you have any success stories that you can share or research to let them relax into that you can help them? So for me with the laser, again, I have practitioners. We have lasers. We're promoting it on our website. We're educating patients about the cold laser. We're pioneering it in Canada for fertility, and we're using it for pain. I have colleagues that call me up saying, what do you do for this? What do you do for that? And they're not aware of the power of their laser. They don't know what the wavelength of the laser is. They don't know why that's actually makes a difference. For me, when I went to find my laser, I researched 5 lasers that I liked and narrowed it down to 2 that I really, really wanted, which I have in my clinic, right? We have 5 in our clinic. I went and traveled on a plane for 5 hours and shadowed Dr. Kahn. He wrote The Brain's Way of Healing Itself, Norman Doidge's book. So I went and shadowed Dr. Kahn for a day. He's in his 80s. Magnificent doc. It's crazy. He used to be a vascular surgeon. Now he does lasers. Brilliant guy. Then I flew from one end of my country, so I'm in Vancouver, to the other end of the country, Halifax. So that's like going from California to like Bangor. I don't know. What do you got east of New York? And
well, I say Maine. Yeah, you're right.
Maine, okay. And I spent 2 days in a clinic because they had 27 lasers. So I looked at how they're treating concussions and pain. I went and spent 2 days in this doc's clinic. I got on a plane, spent a lot of money, time to learn from them. And then I went and took courses. And then I went and downloaded research. You should see on my desk here, I just got 6 new laser studies that I'm looking at for fertility. So when patients talk to me, I can tell them right off the bat the mechanism behind the laser, the cold laser, why it will help with their pain and injury and accelerate the healing. I can tell them how it can benefit them for fertility. I know it. And when they ask about scheduling your time, I can just say, yes, we can do that. No, that would not work. And why, right? So that's the confidence. Like if you ask me a question, I can pretty much think it and come out with an answer. It's not me memorizing or because Lorne said this or this person said that. I really make sure I understand it well. And I've done the investing. I went and shadowed people. I've done several courses. I've read the research. So when a patient wants to do laser and they want to come once a week, I won't let them come once a week. Why? The research shows that when you do laser once a week, if it's underpowered or under dosage, it looks like placebo. But when laser's like 3 times or more a week, it works. So usually we start our patients on 3 times a week for laser. So I'm going to share a fun story with you here. I had a patient that could not afford acupuncture, so they canceled the treatments. This was her story. I can't afford to come once a week for $95 Canadian. That's what we charge currently at the time of this recording. When we came up with the laser protocol and what we were pioneering in Canada here, and we put out the reasons, the laser is $130 a visit. So acupuncture is $95 right now, laser is $100. So rather than charging people $195 to have both, we charge them $130, right? To have acupuncture and cold laser for this fertility protocol we're putting together. This patient that couldn't afford $95 a week is now coming at $133 times a week. It's never about affordability. It's about, I don't see the value in coming for acupuncture once a week for $95. I have not communicated the value of acupuncture well enough to that patient, or she did not perceive the value, and that's why she discontinued care. For that specific individual, I did not reach her. The laser reached her, and now she's in for the treatments. So whenever a patient says, I can't afford your services, that doesn't mean she can't afford the services. What it means to me is I haven't communicated the value and benefit. Always comes back to me, which is great because I'm responsible for it all. So if a patient doesn't see the value, I somehow did not reach her. I did not communicate properly to her the value or benefit of what I'm doing. So that's how you attract patients, is increasing your value. So I got to read a Jim Rohn quote here. This is brilliant. Jim Rohn, another motivational speaker. He talks about becoming more valuable. Why is this an important quote? Because to attract patients, you need to be attractive to patients, and you're attractive to patients when they see you as a value to them. So he says, to have more, you simply have to become more. Don't wish for it to be easier. Wish for you to be better. Become 3 times more valuable so you can make 3 times more money. And I would add, you don't raise your fees because your rent has gone up. You raise your fees because you've added value to your services. So we have added a value. We came up with this with co-laser into our practice. So we do laser acupuncture with regular acupuncture. Now we have a whole population that has a needle phobia that will come to our practice because they didn't come to acupuncture because they have a needle phobia. So those people can have laser. Now add the laser and acupuncture. Oh my God, what a combination for treating pain and so many other conditions, including infertility. So we were charging $95 for acupuncture or $100 for laser. Rather than $195, now people are coming in for $130 visit because they see the value and the benefit of having these 2 services together. The difficult part here is coming up with the value. So like, what can I do that's going to rock my patient's world? Because you really want to give them more in value than they're paying. That's when they line up at your door. When they perceive that what you're giving them is more than what they're paying, they'll line up at your door. And if they're not lining up at your door, then A, they don't know you exist, you're not communicating the value, and they don't perceive it. You know, if you and I were sitting across a restaurant, and I said, Sam, I got a $5 bill, you have a $10 bill, why don't you walk over and we'll exchange my 5 for 10? You'd say, you're out of your mind. If I said, Sam, hey, you got a $10 bill and I have a $10 bill, why don't you come over and exchange that $10 bill for me? You're like, I'm no better off. Why would I make the effort? Hey, Sam, I got a $100 bill and you got a $10 bill. You may actually get up from your meal and excuse yourself and walk through the restaurant to get that 100. Why? Because you've got more value out of it. So your patients have to be getting more value than they're paying for your treatment. So you'll always want to go the extra mile for your patients. And that's what we do in our practice. We constantly invest in ourselves so we feel we have value. So the confidence, we feel it, we believe it. And we constantly learning. We experiment and test on some test population. We see it's working. And once we see it's working really well, we start to share a lot on our website. And then patients tell other people. So we really invest in ourselves on a regular basis, because when you invest in yourself, as I said earlier, then other people, your patients, will be willing to invest in you for their health care.
Well, I love it. In fact, I think we can both say, just based on this, of course, a successful practice depends on people and patients. And in order to be successful, you have to have them come in and showing that value. So I think that makes an excellent point. And I hope everyone kind of retools himself a bit and starts saying, excuse me, what type of change can I make? Now, one thing I've got to ask you, though, is that I've heard you say this, and I'm like, well, wait, there's a mystical explanation behind attracting a patient. What do you mean by that? I'm enthralled. So give me what you mean by that one.
All right. So, I'm grounded as a CPA, but I'm also out there a little bit too, Sam. So I have often said about myself that my feet are on the ground as an accountant, but my head are in the clouds. Often people are either really grounded, they can't see the mystical, or they're totally not grounded. They're just in the clouds and they just can't manifest. I feel fortunate that I got my feet in the ground and my head's in the clouds. So I'm going to give you the mystical side of this. So when you invest in yourself, I've said many times that it builds your confidence. So what I noticed early on in my practice is when I would take a workshop and do some continuing education, and I got inspired and I felt excited, I would all of a sudden notice that my phone would ring on the Monday for that very condition I just studied. And so what I started noticing is if my practice was feeling slow or I was feeling discouraged, and I went and took a course and got inspired and felt really good about it, like, oh, I can't wait to treat somebody, all of a sudden my phone would ring. And I wasn't the only one having that. Other people were having that experience. So what I how I internalized it back then, this is back in the early 2000s, was that what's happening here is as I get knowledge and that inspires me, that increases my confidence. And when my confidence is increased, what it does is my intention that goes out to the universe amplifies, and it acts like a beacon. And so it attracts patients. So the stronger my confidence, the more I believe this can work and I'm excited and I can't wait to do this, the more that kind of came out of my pores and went out into the ether, into the universe, and somehow attracted patients to me. Nowadays, the books that I've read and I've seen that are out there, Joe Dispenza's books out there, Joseph Murphy, James Collier, all these people talk about that when your thinking and feelings change, your electromagnetic field changes, and there's this interaction on a quantum level. So your outer world is constantly is a mirror of your inner world. So if you're confident and believe you can help and you're excited, that will show up in your life, and then patients get attracted to you. Same thing, it can work the other way. If you take a course and you feel that this speaker, this presenter is brilliant, and you can't do what they do, and it makes you feel insecure and not worthy, and you feel like a fraud, all of a sudden you'll get cancels in your schedule. So you definitely want to choose things that are going to inspire you, because it changes you chemically, hormonally, neurologically, on a cellular level, and that gets reflected out into the universe. And that's how you attract people to you and opportunity to you. And we alluded to this a little bit in our first talk on mindset and how your thinking impacts your success just from that blueprint. And that's I went into more of a very Newtonian explanation. And my Newtonian explanation here still is, think good thoughts, invest in yourself, get confidence. But on a quantum level, you're really putting stuff out there into the ether and it's attracting back to you. And that's why, because we're constantly hearing skeptics that acupuncture doesn't work, or there's poor studies that go out there, we have this little chip on our shoulder. I realized early on, to protect my confidence, in order to continue to grow my confidence, I need to invest in myself almost daily, which is what I do. And that impacts my intention. So as my knowledge grows, so does my confidence. As my confidence grows, my intention gets amplified, and that attracts the patients to me. Today, our lines were so busy on the phone with my patient coordinator. We have 2 on in the afternoon, 1 on in the morning. I answer the phone. Sometimes I'm sitting here and the phones are off the hook. We have 3 lines. And it's a woman from your part of the world. She's from the Boston area, and she's coming in to spend a week at our clinic to have the laser treatment and our acupuncture and have our naturopathy program that we do for fertility. So she's coming in for a whole week during her follicular phase. Now, there's lots of great acupuncturists in her area, I'm sure. But we're the ones right now doing this really cool fertility protocol with the laser, with acupuncture, with functional medicine. So much so that she sees the value that she's getting on a plane and spending a week in Vancouver. Today, I'm saying goodbye to one of my patients from California that comes up here for 7 days a month during her follicular phase to get treated by us. And she gets treated. She does 6 visits. Sometimes she comes twice in 1 day. So the hard part is creating the value. Like, where's the value? But that's the part where you meditate on, you think on, and you just keep investing in yourself because you want to learn, that thirst for knowledge, and you want to be better. The Jim Rohn quote, don't wish it for it to be easier, wish it for you to be better, right? And so that's what we do at our clinic. We're constantly learning. We have healthy seminars to access for learning, the free content and the paid, but we even went and bought Sharon Weisenbaum's graduate mentorship program. So besides we have free content, and her program is $5,000 for a 2-year program. And we went and did that as well, right? Even though we have free content. So just to let you know, because somebody says, well, you have access to Pro-D, of course. Yeah, Pro-D and healthy seminars, that came from me loving to learn and sharing this with my colleagues, with you guys that are listening to this. But I still pay for stuff, even though I have free stuff that I can't even get through. So it's all about choosing stuff that's going to grow your confidence and grow your competencies. You want the knowledge and the skills. And then if you can communicate that, patients will be drawn to you. You have to be able to communicate it. And that's why you want to really know it, because if you don't know it, you can't communicate it properly.
Well, I agree. In fact, I think kind of what I want to take away and say to everyone is that obviously, in a sense, confidence and knowledge really creates success, because that's what people are attracted to. Just like anytime we're with someone that can light up the room, there's something about them, a magnetism or otherwise. And you should be that for your patients. That's what they're looking for. Your patients are wanting you to give them that solution. They're going to be willing to pay for it. There's a movement because things work. And this is the beauty of acupuncture, whether you're going to deal with it from a pure cash or otherwise, eventually things that work stick. And people that can get it and communicate to someone, it's going to be available to them. So I can't thank you enough for this part, but I know we're going to come back with a second part, but I want to have just, to end this one, any tips you might have that, just from this one, a quick one, and then make sure, again, you've mentioned your book, make sure everyone knows where they can pick up a copy or take a look.
Great. Well, thanks for giving a plug for my book, Sam. Appreciate it. The book is called Missing the Point. The website is missingthepointbook.com. So it's a simple, easy read. Each chapter, it'll take you 2 hours from cover to cover to read it the first time. And I recommend you read it 3 times, and it will help you on the business side. Constantly invest in yourself. So I would look at, on healthyseminars.com, there are free lectures. So we have PDA CEU approved lectures that you pay for online, and then we have free lectures. All the lectures are an hour or less. So I would go and watch those lectures. So start to get inspired. Every day you want to get inspired. And then I mentioned a few books out there. If you're into that mind-body stuff, Joe Dispenza has 3 or 4 great books out there. Joseph Murphy, this is back from the early 1900s. So none of this is new, by the way, guys. Joseph Murphy, Robert Collier's, Robert Collier was born in 1885, talking about your thoughts and your feelings and how it affects the field, and your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So if you don't like what's going on in your environment, then you need to change the inner world, which is what I think is beautiful as a healer, because I like to heal my community. I like to see the planet healed. And what I've learned from all this reading that I've done on the mystical, spiritual level is I heal myself, and that's how I heal the world, right? So I don't have to go out there and try to heal the world. I have to work on myself, and that's all I need to do. And then I get to where I'm extra blessed is I have a practice. So I do get to help heal other people. So I would check out healthyseminars.com. There's some free resources there. I was on your website, your webinars. I've seen some practitioners. I'm a business talk here today, but I know you guys have tons of talks from practitioners as well. So just every day, read a book, read a study, take a course. And the worst thing that you could ever say is, oh, I got all the CEUs I need for this year. That's my way of knowing you would never get hired at my practice if that was your mindset. You would never. We do our quota of CEUs within the first 3 months of every year. So I once heard somebody who coaches, and he said, yeah, I got my quota of CEUs this year. And I was like, quota? There's no quota. The only thing that limits me from learning is time, right? I don't care how many hours my regulatory body tells me I have to have. I'm going to do triple, quadruple that. Why? Because if you invest in yourself, other people will be willing to invest in you.
Oh, I agree. In fact, here, I'm just going to let everyone know that certainly take a look there. Go to our site. We have videos. We have our teaching. In fact, you mentioned that no one's inventing anything new. Those come from the 1800s. I want everyone to think of this for a moment. Amazon has taken over and everyone's going out. Is Amazon not the Sears catalog? That's all it is online. Had Sears thought of that 20 years ago, there would be no Amazon. So it's one of the reasons, if you're looking for coding, the American Acupuncture Council has a coding manual that's online. We don't print a book anymore. Why don't we print a book? When's the last time you bought a dictionary? So we put an online so that you can go on there and you can type in, if you're looking for restless leg syndrome, type in restless leg. It comes up, gives you the code. Or if you want to look up a CPT code, look it up, see the full definition, understand what it is. And again, this is the learning. A lot of times you're doing additional services. Maybe you don't have the full definition. What is the definition and the meaning of fibromyalgia to myalgia? Use our system and it helps you do that. And so realize that we've not invented anything new. We just want to make sure your practice is doing well. So we do seminars. And again, I will point out our seminars, to me, are a must because it's the business side. And too often, I know you're going to learn about healing, but you better understand that end of it. And that's why I love having you here, Lorne, because it kind of takes both of those and melds it. And so I want everyone to know, take a look, go to the site, learn something new each day, listen to lots of people. No one has every answer, but you're going to find a lot of answers from a lot of people and take what's good there and move with it. Ultimately, we want to be successful. That's really our goal as a company. The American Acupuncture Council is there for you. We do your malpractice. We do all of your risk management. We help you with coding, billing. If you have problems with issues, we help. And the reason why we want to make sure you're successful is you won't need any of those things. So it's very important. Here's my goal. Every time I have someone come to my seminar, I say this and I mean it. I want someone so excited when they leave that seminar, they're going to go back to the office and begin working on what we taught them that night, because they're going to realize the value to it. And so put a value into yourself. And I think that's where success is. So now this is part 2, Dr. Lorne. We're going to have you back next month. We're going to continue on and finish and complete from there. But again, I cannot thank you enough for spending some time with us, imparting that knowledge. And for everyone out there, continued success.
Thank you very much, Sam. Appreciate being on your show.